Welcome to Talkin' Shit, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together, the perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So, grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin' Shit. Let's dive in. Hey friend, quick question before we dive into today's episode. Does dinner stress you out more than it should? Because if you're like most women I talk to, figuring out what to make every single night feels like another full-time job. So if you're tired of the daily what's for dinner stress, I've got something just for you. I've created the What's for Dinner guide with 50 quick, healthy, and blood sugar friendly recipes that are perfect whether you're cooking for yourself or your whole family. No more second guessing, no more last minute takeout, just real food made simple. Grab your copy for just $9, click the link in the show notes, and make dinner the easiest part of your day. All right. Now I'm back to the episode. But seriously, don't wait. Your weeknight sanity will thank you. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Talkin' Shit podcast. We have this theme going, and I'm bringing in fellow dietitians to come and speak and kind of let you into what we see on a daily basis and how we can best support your health, and really coming from that lens of what is healthy, what is balance, because that seems to be a little bit more difficult to define nowadays. So I have fellow dietitian with me today, and I'm so excited to be able to explore and talk about these things that are really impacting individuals. So I'm just going to open it up for her to kind of share your background and where you're coming from, and then we're going to talk a little bit about GLP-1s, weight loss, and body image today. So let's dive in.
Okay, amazing. Hi, Jana. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Aderet. I'm also a dietitian. I have a private practice, all virtual. My practice is called Dining with Nature. We work with women from fertility through family life. We take a holistic, sustainable approach to nutrition care. And I am seeing the GLP-1 drugs a lot in my work and with my clientele. And a big part of the care that we provide is managing patients on these drugs and working with women, also working with men, but working with women, especially the conversation of body image comes up every single time. So I was really excited to come on and have this conversation today.
Yeah, I think so. This is an interesting one because I will say in my education, body image was never talked about. It was something that I did after becoming a dietitian and seeing just how many women, including myself, struggle with body image and how really we can support it and form it in a way that is supportive to us versus maybe it's our own like bully is how I describe it. So when you're starting to see this body image conversation come about, what do you start noticing, or what are women struggling with?
I think that it manifests itself in a way where it's like almost like it's a given that I struggle with my image. I struggle with the way my clothing fits me. I want to look a certain way. And, you know, especially when they're coming to a dietitian specifically, I don't know if that's true, across the board, but like, anecdotally, what I see in my work is like, it's almost a given that body image is something that people carry with them in a negative way. And I will often use the line, I'll say, there's nothing wrong with caring about what you look like. That is like very human nature. In our world where cameras are everything, where we're always looking at our image, mirrors and cameras are so accurate, right? It's such an accurate portrayal of what we look like. There's nothing wrong with caring about what you look like. It's what you do with that information that is where we start to like lead into a space that can become, hurtful or harmful to yourself. And so I think the conversation that I'm often having is you can care about what you look like, but what are you doing with that information? And that's where body image for me lands.
Adara, I think that's so important because I think the idea that you shouldn't care about how you look is has been used, and I don't actually think that that is a healthy approach either, right? Like I think it's very human nature to care about how we see ourselves and also about how other people see us, just from like that collective, that community perspective, and like how do I fit in almost. And I don't think it has to be something that's unhealthy, although it certainly can be, and kind of how we've been taught to think about it has kind of crossed over into that unhealthy zone. So I love that you say that. Like it's not a bad thing to care about how you look. Why do we actually want to take it from that approach?
I think it's because I want people to I don't want people to think like there's something wrong with me because I care about what I look like. That's bad. Like I should be chill. I should just be like whatever, right? Like I think instead we should be like, no, you how you look is an expression of who you are, right? You know, how you dress, how you talk, how you whatever, the way you are, how you decide to do your hair, whatever it is, it's an expression of you and your personality, and you should feel empowered to do that and to express yourself. It's when you start to criticize yourself and when you start to fall into the line of like, ew, I don't like what I see. And I need to fix this. And this is a problem. Is when we start to have the conversation of, you know, okay, you know, body acceptance, body neutrality, right? Weight neutrality, all of those terms. That's when we start to have the conversation of, you know, what you're seeing in the mirror is you. Are you taking care of yourself every day? Are you taking care of yourself every day? You're taking care of yourself every single day in the way that you're supposed to take care of yourself, and you see something in the mirror and you don't like it, what's going on? If you're taking care of yourself every single day, most likely you look in the mirror and you go, that's my work.
Mhm.
That's my work. That's my product.
Mhm.
So that's the conversation that I think I try to steer when it comes to body image.
Oh gosh, so what I hear in that is like total ownership and accountability. Like
Yeah.
just how you say, like if you're looking in the mirror, and I do want to talk about, so a lot of people will say like there's a difference between what they see in the mirror and what they see in a photo or from a camera. But I love how you said that as that's my work, that's my product. But I
Yeah.
love also how you're saying like it's about caring for yourself. You're not a problem to be fixed, but you are something that needs time, energy, and attention, which is a very different shift in the conversation that you get to give to yourself of, okay, if this doesn't look like something that I truly want or that I'm proud of, what time do I need to give it? What energy do I need to give it? And what attention do I need to give it? Which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
versus, oh, what diet can I do to like lose weight like really quickly in a very like harmful way sometimes.
Yeah. And that's really the conversation.
Yeah. So, okay, if someone does not like what they see in the mirror, many times, if we're looking at it from a problem to be fixed, the solution is to lose weight. How do we bridge that gap in saying, sure, weight loss can certainly help with like maybe seeing yourself in a different light and being more confident? And what approach are we taking with that?
So I talk a lot about cow energy, the energy that you bring to the world. And I say, okay, you know what? First of all, being overweight, clinically speaking, being obese, clinically speaking, um, is something that should be managed medically, should be managed nutritionally. It is, I mean, we're finally getting to the point where we're able to say there's a disease element to it, right? Our spaces are there, especially like obesity medicine spaces. That is how they are addressing it. And it can be addressed that way. And if you feel like this is something that needs to be addressed medically, you should speak with your doctor and you should go see a dietitian. And those are people you should work with and get support that you need to help you manage and take care of yourself and manage this the same way you would manage it if you had diabetes. Um, but that line of okay, I'm addressing this, but it's very easy to address it and still not like what you see in the mirror. That work still needs to happen. That work is something that I always say to my patients. I say, the grass is always greener, right? Okay, so if I lose 20 pounds, everything's good. And I'm like, probably not, right? Probably not. Probably, yeah, you might, get that off the scale, but that doesn't change that you're struggling with what you see in the mirror. And that's still something that needs to be addressed as its own thing, as a deeper thing. And so I think that that is where, I don't remember the original question necessarily, but like, I feel like that is where I kind of come into the conversation of like, yeah, let's address this nutritionally. Let's take care of it. Let's treat it like it needs to be treated, but let's also not pretend like, there is this element of like, I'm not happy with what I see in the mirror and I need to, oh, energy. That's where I wanted to go with this. Like I need to talk about how I carry myself in this world and the energy that I bring. Because that's what people read. People always get self-conscious about what they look like and they're going to think this specific thing of me because I look like this. And I say, people are drawn to energy. They are attracted to people's energy. And so no matter what size you are, you bring good energy, good, whatever, you bring your energy to the table. That's something that is going to change how you see yourself in the mirror.
Well, I think what you're highlighting is that body image work is very different than weight loss. And weight loss is very different than health. Like they're different buckets, right? And so a lot of times individuals will lose those 20 pounds and they'll say, I still don't like what I see in the mirror. Well, that's not a weight issue now. That's a body image issue. And we have to step into different modalities to address that body image that you are not enjoying because you can't fix it with more weight loss. And weight loss is also very different than health, right? Like, so you can certainly lose weight, but you still may have some health factors that we have to address. So there, and I always like to tease those apart because there's so much nuance in it. And often, especially for women, and also rightfully so, like the medical profession, I think really has not done a good job of this. We've just said like, oh, in order to fix everything, just lose weight. that I mean, it does fix some things, but it doesn't fix everything. And so it's really helpful to have these different buckets because you do different things based on the bucket that you're trying to address. Like I know from my own experience, like I've lost 50 pounds, kept it off. That's part of how I became a dietitian. But I know even today, if I don't get sleep, I see myself very differently in the mirror. And it's almost like I put the weight back on. So and that has nothing to do with having to do another diet approach. That has to do with me caring for myself in a different way to be able to get rest, to be able to manage my stress. So I see myself differently. And so I think that's important to just call out so that individuals know, like, if they're still struggling and they've lost the weight, well, you're not going to fix the problem, and I'm air quoting that, with some more dieting. We have to go into that new bucket.
Yep. I call it weight loss versus health gain. We can lose weight, right? We can lose weight. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. We also need to gain health. And that is where nutrition therapy is crucial. People think I just need to come to a dietitian so I can lose weight and then I go on my way. And I go, you come to a dietitian maybe to help you with manage your weight, but really you're coming to the dietitian to manage your health, to help you gain that, that nourishment, that, that lifestyle, that healthy lifestyle piece.
Mm-hmm. And that part is really what keeps the weight off. So you're rolling your eyes on this one for anyone that can't see. Yeah.
Yep. That's the management piece. Yep. Yes. I always say, I say to my patients, I say, weight loss is temporary. That's a temporary term. You came here for weight management. That is long-term. That is the sustainability piece. You don't want to lose weight and then, okay, I'm done. That's it. No more work. I did it. Right? You came here because you want to get to the body weight that you feel good in and stay there.
Mhm.
And like you said about yourself of having lost 50 pounds and now like your job every day is to maintain what you've built in order to get there. And that is it, right? That is the work. I say, I'm like, you can get where you want to go. It's staying there. That's the work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So how are GLP-1s kind of changing the conversation in this space?
I think the GLP-1s are changing body image first and foremost, what the expectation is of what we can look like. Um, or what we should look like, because I think that's also can and should look like. And I I understand that it's like we as a society very much covet looking a specific way or having a specific body type. Um, and from a cosmetic perspective, that's something that the GLP-1s are changing. Um, Whereas from a medical, from a health, from a clinical perspective, they're doing really great work in terms of helping people, who, again, that comes back to your comment about, doctors think like, oh, just get to this weight and everything will be fine. That they're not wrong in the sense that we have a lot of research that shows, positive impact from being a healthy body weight for you. Um, but it's not so simple to just say to somebody, lose 10 pounds. And so now the doctors can say, okay, lose 10 pounds and here's a drug to help you do it. And then on top of that, people are looking a specific way. And so I think it's changing so much. It's changing our healthcare system. It's changing our society, or it's changing the way we see things on social media. Like it's changing so many things. It's going to change our food industry. People are not craving, McDonald's every minute anymore. Things are just, it's changing so many things. We're only just the beginning of the impact of these drugs, from my perspective.
Yeah, and we were talking before we started recording, and the goal of this podcast is not to demonize the use of them because they really do have their clinical roles. However, I do want to just we talked about like I'm a huge person on like the nuances
Yeah.
of a lot of things, right, when it comes to health. And again, there's no one size fits all when we're looking at you creating a routine that works for you long term. And these drugs can certainly be used in a healthy fashion to get us to really saving someone's life at a point. It really just depends on the individual. And from an expectation perspective, I always want to caution that we do not want to rely on the drug to do all of the work. Right. So I don't want my clients to think that once I'm on the medication, then I don't have to change my eating. Then I don't have to do exercise. Then I don't have to do all these other areas of lifestyle medicine that are still required to be able to live a healthy life. So we're really using it in conjunction with these changes to see the best outcomes for the individual.
Yep. That's exactly right. And I'm actually really glad that you pointed out the part of our conversation from before about like I'm actually happy. I'm happy to see these drugs in the space. I'm happy to see more options to help people manage weight out in the space. It's I always said it's never just one solution to get us where we're trying to go from a health perspective. We need all the solutions in the space because they're all welcome here. It's it's the same thing I say about body image. It's what we do with them. It's how we use them. That is where we need to have a very specific conversation about it as this. Yeah, the drugs are there. And like you said, that doesn't change the lifestyle piece. I was talking to a group of dietitians about this. I said, there should be required by insurance companies who are subsidizing the drug. If you're going to be on this drug, you need to be seeing a dietitian. It should be part of the care to make the point that these drugs are not okay, I did it, I'm done solution.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do see that with some insurances, but it's more a requirement that they're in a weight management program before they'll
Yeah.
approve, which I think is kind of, I mean, I certainly understand that, but to be on it during when you're losing the weight because it's also changing the body image aspect
Yeah.
and also, and I really want to talk about this. You said this before, and I quoted it. I have it on my pad here. a healthy pace.
Yeah.
Because we don't, mm, we're really looking to monitor how quickly the weight comes off because we are still wanting to assist with the overall broader picture of health. Because we know when you lose weight at a very quick rate, it actually taps into muscle reserves, right? It's not fat. And from a longevity perspective, we do not want to tap into those muscle reserves because we actually set the individual up for more complications down the road. There's also some GI stuff that I'm not a fan of that's really impacting people. But again, that goes based on the individual dosing, a lot of other factors that they may be working with or have conditions of beforehand. But what would be a healthy pace of weight loss just in general?
I always say that, I mean, uh, even just a pound a week is a lot, from my perspective. Somewhere between a half a pound and a pound per week. People will probably lose more if their weight is higher. People whose weight is closer to a healthier range might see a slower pace because that's just kind of how the body reacts to these things. But at the end of the day, um, it's really important because people get really excited about the weight loss part of this. And I just think it's super important to emphasize that just like gaining weight quickly isn't healthy, losing weight quickly isn't healthy. It is as exciting as it is, and I get that. The body, that's your body. You're losing parts of your body. And so it's important to remember that when you're on this journey. And for the doctors who are titrating the medicine dosage up, I always encourage that it not be done super quickly, but rather at a pace that, and you mentioned the GI issues. If there are side effects, if there are symptoms, to give the patient time to adjust to these medications and not titrate up just to titrate up. To give it some time and let them adjust and let their body get used to the drug so that they can have a smooth time using it.
Yes, because even when you're on the drugs, we still want you to eat food.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Your body actually has a metabolic benefit from consuming food, and we want to keep that metabolic benefit present. So we want you to be able to eat food while also decreasing hunger, decreasing food chatter, right? Like there's a lot of other physiological variables that are happening, but we still need you to eat food in order to lose weight.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly right. I When people ask kind of what's the purpose of being in nutrition therapy while they're on the drug, I'm like, that's it. I need to make sure that you're eating. I need to make sure that you're nourishing yourself and taking care of yourself because the drug isn't taking care of you. You need to take care of you. And so my job as a dietitian is to kind of help you do that. It's when my patients have been those who start the drug, have gotten frightened at how low their intake is sometimes, and rightfully so. They're like, it's scary that I'm sitting here and I can't finish this piece of chicken. That's never happened to me before. And I'm like, yeah. And for some that passes, that's a beginning phase that kind of goes away and eventually they're able to eat relatively normal. And it's more just that quiet of the food chatter, of the food noise. But for some, it doesn't go away and their intake is extremely low, and it's a little frightening even for me as a dietitian. I'm like, your intake is extremely low, lower than it should be.
Mhm. Yeah, it's also interesting when emotions come up because particularly if someone has struggled with emotional eating or binge eating, and then they're on the medication and they're not able to go to the very food that's helped them cope or soothe certain emotions, it can really cause a lot of angst and anxiety and depression because you now no longer have that outlet that you used. So just something to be aware of. If you feel like you were someone that was an emotional eater and binge eater, and now you're going on this medication, we still have to address the emotions that were triggering you to go to food because now you don't have that coping mechanism. It's the same thing. I mean, sometimes I don't like to give this like scenario, but it is like the easiest one. It's the same thing if we take away the like alcohol from the alcoholic or the drug from the drug, like the drug addict, right? Like you're left with the emotions, and we still need to process those and have outlets. So I encourage people, one, we got to address that emotional eating still, even though you're not eating like you used to, we still want to address that. And also, this could be a good opportunity to get connected with a counselor to really start processing this, so that in as you are continuing to lose weight, we are setting you up for the most success possible, so that when you are no longer on the drug, now you're able to maintain that weight long term.
I love that you said that. Because this is the thing that comes up so much in my work of like, I used to be able to come home from work and sit on my couch in my pajamas and enjoy my dinner in this like cozy, comforting way after a long, stressful day. And I can't do that anymore. And without it, like I feel a little like untaken care of, right? My emotional needs aren't being met. And I'm like, I get that. I get that. That's hard for that to be essentially taken away from you. So what can we do to both support you emotionally and also give you an experience similar to that one, so that you don't feel like that got taken away from you? And it starts to highlight these things for people, and it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any like, I call it identity work as well, but like as individuals are losing a lot of weight, do you see how like not only are they seeing themselves differently, which is like the body image, but do you see that they're starting to identify with themselves and those around them in a different way too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just talking about this today with a patient of mine. She was saying to me, she's like, my husband sometimes volunteers as a firefighter. My daughter's an EMT in our community, and now I'm like, I'm at that age where if I don't train now to be an EMT, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I never thought I'd be a person who would do this, because like I didn't see myself as someone capable of doing that. But now that I've lost this weight, I see myself differently, and I'm going to go do it. And it was sweet because it was a little excitement, a little bit like, who am I? Like, who am I? This person that's able to like go do this training for this EMT. And it was sweet. And it was a really nice moment for her. And I was like, look, maybe you don't like it. It's fine. But the fact that you are having the courage to go explore it because you got to this place is really exciting. Like, she was excited. I have another patient who he always was interested in joining the Air Force, but they have like weight class. And he now is like getting closer to be able to, be in the weight class to join the Air Force. And he's like, I just kind of wrote it off as something I'd never be able to do. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I can be the person that I thought I was going to be. And so I definitely see identity tied to it. And again, these are the things about the drugs that I'm like excited about for people. This like unlocking of potential in a lot of ways of like finding themselves. And so even more so, why I'm like, it's so crucial to also be talking about the health gain element of it, because I want you to go do all of these things. And in order to do for all these things, it's not just weight loss, it's also taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway that I want individuals who are tuning in today to understand. One, again, it's not demonizing, because we need to utilize the tools and it's very specific to each person. Our drug intervention is necessary for the volume of people that are taking it. I don't know. That's one for debate
Yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah.
However, it can certainly be part of the toolbox. And I want to encourage individuals to also look at the food, the movement, the
Mm-hmm.
mental, emotional well being, the sleep. Like, these are all other factors that have to, from my opinion, have to be addressed if we want to see the weight stay off. Because my big concern is we're not having these conversations. We're just handing out the drug. We're seeing the weight loss. And then now insurance companies are denying the use of the drug. And now we don't have this tool, and people are gaining the weight back plus more. And now they feel even more hopeless. And that's not where we want to get to. And so when we start addressing the realms of well-being or the other areas of health, that's where we see the most success.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And I like that you brought up the like a little bit of the politics of it, where it's like, is insurance going to cover it? Am I going to have access to it? If I stop having access to it, what happens then? Like, I see these conversations, and I understand that. I'm hoping that the future is they just become more accessible, not less accessible. I'm hoping that we're headed in that direction. But it still does come up. I have patients who are like, my insurance didn't cover this week for whatever reason. I couldn't get it. My pharmacy didn't have it this week, whatever it is. And it messes up the flow of the care. And so, yeah.
So for those patients, what do you usually do when when they skip a dose or they're not able to get the medication? What does that conversation look like then?
So it honestly depends on if they come to me. Like sometimes I don't see them until after it's kind of already passed. And so it's like, let's reflect on it and talk about how it went and like where it could have been different. Some of them might end up skipping a dose and they're like, it's fine. It didn't affect me. That happens. They're like, yeah, by the time I got to day 14, I was really hungry and had a really regular day of food. But the drug I think it takes like a month to really get out of your system for real. And so like a skip dose doesn't really, I think the question becomes, when the medication is not doing what it's supposed to do, and patients are like, I worked so hard to get on the drug. I fought my insurance companies. I fought my doctor, right? Finally got on the drug. It's not doing what I want it to do. This happened. I've seen this multiple times. One specific one that comes to mind, and they're like, I'm lethargic. I don't feel good. I am in a bad mood all the time. But I worked so hard to get on this drug. Am I really just going to go off of it? I'm like, it's not doing anything for you. You're not losing weight. You're not gaining health. If anything, your mental health is declining. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but do you want to stay on this drug? And the decision to come off it because it's so hard to get on it sometimes is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many nuances
I know.
and I
could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, and it's so cool though because I love being able to do this in a podcast fashion because I think this really highlights how dietitians can assist you in your health, right? Like we're not, or at least most of the dietitians that I know nowadays, we're not just looking at the food that's on your plate. We're really assessing your health as a whole and what can best support you. And I think that's a very different shift than maybe previous generations or what people may have experienced from a dietitian and or even diet culture of no, it's just the food and that's the only thing that we're looking at. And yes, certainly nutrition is foundational and it's not the only part of the equation that we're really assessing and seeing like, how can we support you at the highest level of health and also of weight loss?
Exactly. It's, I think that, I think dietitians wear so many hats. I think dietitians wear so many hats. You're right. The food and the lifestyle come first, of course, every time. But I have conversations with my patients sometimes where it's just, because we're talking about lifestyle, it ends up becoming a lot of different things because lifestyle is all encompassing. Sleep. We've talked about sleep a couple of times in this conversation, right? Sleep is a big one. Why are you not? What's the issue with sleep? And I end up in a conversation with my patients about something that it's like, is this nutrition related? And I'm always bringing the conversation back to nutrition and all the time. But dietitians do wear a lot of hats for this reason. And it's because the lifestyle piece is crucial, right? I can tell you need to eat kale. Just being a little silly, right? I can tell you to eat kale, but then you have to go and do it. That's what I always say. Then you have to go and do it. And so the lifestyle piece becomes a really important conversation to help you be able to eat the kale. And then once we're already talking about how can I actually go and eat the kale, now we're just talking about the nuances of your life and your day to day.
Yeah. Do you have access? Does it cost an arm and a leg? There's so many other variables than just, oh, I know I should eat more vegetables. It's like, sure, most people do, but what are the barriers or what are the perceived barriers that are coming in the way of actually being able to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anything else that you'd like to add to this conversation, at least for today?
I mean, I think the note that like I would really love to leave on is just to say that like you know, as dietitians, like we know what's going on out in the space around body image and GLP-1s and what's happening, what's the conversations in the media and social media. We see it all. And if you're ever feeling like, oh my God, what is all of this? What is all of this? Like, am I supposed to be doing this? I need to understand this better. ChatGPT is only answering some of my questions type of thing. Like, don't hesitate to go see a dietitian and have this conversation with them. It's so loud right now. It's so loud. The space around, body image and GLP-1s and weight loss and everything. And there's just so much, do this, don't do this. And the term food noise, right? Like all this stuff constantly every day. And if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by it, or if you're ever more curious about it and you really want to understand it, and you want to understand in the context of your life, don't hesitate to reach out to a dietitian, because this is what we're here for. And this is what we do. And this is what the conversations we're trained to have.
Yeah, I had someone recently say, Google didn't talk back to me.
Yeah.
So, she was Googling all the things, but she still didn't know, like, would that be right for her? And that's the power of working with a professional, is that we'll talk back to you, right?
Yeah.
We'll have that conversation to say, like, okay, does that make sense? And literally it is different for every single person. And we just want it to make sense for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Aderet, thank you so much for being part of this conversation and just like starting to open it up. That's the point of this podcast, is just we're opening up and allowing people to kind of see like what is behind the scenes when we're working, like just from a health perspective, but then also just like to lay the foundation of what does it mean to truly care for your health and your well-being, even outside of weight loss, because there's so much more to it. So thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I loved it. I could talk about this all day. So thank you.
Awesome. This has been Talkin' Shit. If you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up or leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. If you want more episodes, click that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more, visit healthwins.org. Talkin' Shit is produced and hosted by me, Jana. This production is also made possible by the Community Media Access Collaborative. Learn more at cmac.tv. See you next time.